Hi, I'm Jen. Welcome to Fate 40 and Beyond. This is a podcast for women who are going through some sort of transition, have been through transition, midlife stuff, all the honesty. We're just trying to have good conversation and learn about other everyday women. I love it. Outside of the podcast, I'm the owner of Soulful Existence, where I do one-on-one work with women all over the world through tarot card readings, mediumship, past life regression, and now coaching. I'm also the owner, developer, mastermind behind a new app called The Cosmic Brief, which is an astrology app integrating everyday astrology into our daily lives. So that's actually officially launching as of this recording. It'll be yesterday. I'm really excited to see that go out into the world. But today we have a guest, and I'm really excited. I was on the Reciprocal podcast a couple weeks ago. This is Sunshine, the Sober Witch, and the host of the Sober Witch podcast. You have a Facebook group. You have a whole coven. What? Tell me more.
Witch.
I want to make sure I get it right.
The Sober Witch Life podcast. So there is
Okay.
Sober Witch Life podcast. Yeah,
Which I
yeah.
love that. I mean, it's just I think it's such a great community to pour time into. So I'm really excited to have you on today. Tell me more about yourself.
Well, I go by Sunshine, the pink-haired sober witch. I've been in recovery from alcohol use disorder since October of 2019. So I've got just over 6.5 years. But I've recently as last year in my anniversary, realized I'm really in recovery since 2015 when I stepped out of an abusive marriage.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if we really want to peel the layers back, I'm in recovery from childhood, but, yeah. And so, my recovery journey has been really interesting and lovely and horrible all in the same breath. What took me up to stepping into letting go of alcohol, it got darker before it got
Right.
light. But yeah, since I let go of alcohol in my life, talk about, such a drastic transformation. Like, I sometimes sit here and think about what life was like when I was still actively drinking, and I mean how delusional I was. I think, but yeah, it's been a beautiful journey since, and I stepped into, I don't know that this is a word, my witchhood. I don't know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I toured the Midwest as a professional psychic medium for almost 4 years, and I've now written and published 2 books.
That's awesome.
I'm
What
the
are the
host of
names
the
of the
title.
books?
Yeah, so the first one is Sober Witch Life,
Okay.
right? So the whole thing, Sober Witch Life, is an entire movement,
Yeah.
right? It in and of itself is a movement, right? I took these 2 things that both people kind of stick their nose up and ostracize and judge,
Right.
which one is addiction and the other one is witchcraft, and I shoved the 2 of them together. Yeah. So it's been this incredible journey, but Sober Witch Life is the book, and then the Recovery Grimoire is the second
Okay.
one that was just came out this past March.
Yeah. I think I remember. I think we had already connected at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and I do remember seeing that come out. And I think there's so many more of us sober witches than people realize. And I love that you're just cultivating this community, and you do retreats, you do
Yeah,
kinds of stuff.
yes.
You're so active and really just getting these people on all together, creating a whole thing.
Yeah, the big vision is that we have a recovery coven local in every single major city, first throughout the US and then next throughout the world.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is really cool. That's yeah. I might have to think about that, because I tend to attract people who are either in recovery and or witches. And so yeah, we have a pretty big group of us here in Atlanta, and that would be, I'm sure there are more people who are looking for similar mind.
Oh, yeah, I've actually got the call out right now. We have a metaphysical store here in Chicago that just prompted this idea. I shouldn't say here in Chicago. I'm in Detroit, but they are in Chicago that really love what we're doing and have offered their space.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't have a member right now in Chicago, so we're putting the call out for a facilitator, right?
Nice.
Somebody can bring in, somebody that I can train. And so, yeah, it's we're going there. I tell myself all the time, right? I say I'm a recovering alcoholic, workaholic, perfectionist, and control freak, right? That's how I like actually say. And so there's this piece of me is like, but there's so much more that, I just and then
No.
I'm like, I can I swear, bitch, please. Like, it's not even been a year since the nonprofit was
Right.
formed. Like what in the world?
Yeah.
So that reality check of how much we have done and how far we have come and grown in the short amount of time that the movement has been in place
Yeah.
is just
I
mind blowing.
I yes, I get it. That whole workaholic perfectionist thing, is kind of how I ended up with this app. I didn't mean to develop an app. I wanted something for me, and then it just snowballed into like, "Oh my gosh, other people might like this." And so here I am with a whole ass app. Like, how did
Mhm.
this happen? Where did it come from? I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to pace myself and, I don't have to keep upgrading and developing and new features every day. Like, it's okay to let it sit and marinate for a little bit. But like that workaholic,
Mhm.
perfectionist thing is like still right there underneath the surface. And so I have to watch it. I get it.
I I mean, I will tell you, we can always talk outside of this, but I'm formally trained as a product manager. I have built software the majority of my adult
Oh,
life.
have you? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
like, what I've done, and so, like, what you're talking about is a lot of what we would consider the visionaries, like,
Right.
propulsion of, like, wanting to do things,
Sure.
but there is a better way
Oh,
to
yeah.
help support, so always happy to answer any questions or give you any tips
Might
from
have
that
to take you
perspective.
up on
Yeah, yeah.
that because and then I start coming up with other ideas,
Mhm,
like, nonstop, and I know, when people ask, I consider myself somewhat of, like, an artist, but it's more of, like, a creator of things. I don't necessarily do I paint? Yeah. Do I have other creative type outlets? Yeah, but it's more of, like, the
creative, you're
idea.
creative.
Yeah, I love to make things and
Yeah.
bring them to life, and so,
I find that that people that have a very healthy, like, energetic selves, right? When we have all of these chakras that are open, especially having a beautiful, like, divine, kind of like
yeah.
crown chakra open, and then you get that sacral chakra too,
Mhm.
right? Like, let's be real, like, we're in our 40s, like, the sex drive that we had when we were in our 20s is just
It's
it's just not
shifted.
the it's shifted. And
Yeah,
so we're like
for
we're
sure.
like, I no longer need to make babies,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I can't stop making things.
Things the energy is still there 100%. I love that so much. I
Yeah.
was actually just thinking, not too long ago, I'm in a safe relationship, my sobriety is good, my mental health is good, and that's why it is so safe for my body to just go, "Okay, let's start making things."
Yep.
Like, we're good. This is what we're supposed to be doing. Let's do
Mhm.
this. And so I'm just kind of, like I have a whole Notion notebook of ideas. And like, it doesn't mean I have to put
Mm.
them into form right now, but they're there waiting for the right moment. So
Yeah,
I
we
get
my
it.
me and my partner and I are both in recovery, and he's an artist, like a fine, artist, like,
Yeah.
paints with oils, and, but we've been tossing around this idea the last, like, 2 weeks, and we're gonna start doing these, like, creative Friday night fires. And
Yeah.
where, like, we just open the backyard up and we have all sorts of art supplies, you can bring your own, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna invite folks from the local recovery community over to just
I love
do
that.
something creative on a Friday night, yeah,
See,
mhm,
and my my husband's a musician, and so to him, like, that's just the natural outpouring
yeah,
of his creative juice, and so we typically are spend the weekend nights at a bar, ironically enough, listening to him play and remembering why we don't do that anymore, but
mhm,
it's, that's his outlet, and so we are definitely both I love it when we go out and meet, like, normal people, both people who are not in recovery and people who are not at all witchy, pagan, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a musician." I say, "Well, I'm a psychic medium." And they're like, "Who are you?" Like, I don't know. That's just who we are. Like, we're both, and we don't drink, we don't do drugs. We're like the
Yep.
most, clean cut people in the world these days. And but still very creative and I think a lot of my creativity started coming back when I did stop drinking. Let's get started on the
Yeah.
reading and see where because I feel like this is going to be a great conversation. I think there's so much there that we have to talk about. So let me shuffle and then pull a couple cards and we'll go from there. Now, I always warn people, I read very intuitively. So if I say a card name and it doesn't quite sound like what
I'm the
you would
same.
read
No.
it is, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no
just there.
disclaimer needed. I look at them just as you're pulling, like, I look at the cards as being like trigger points,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
They're like this like switch, and it might not be what the card means, but there's this switch of just flipping and turning it over that boom, like opens the door to some type of
Yeah, I always
intuitive
tell
hit.
people I
Yeah.
get images, words, and emotions that take over as soon as
Mhm.
I start seeing the pictures. And so my job is to get all of that information and make it make sense. And even then, sometimes I don't feel like I do a good job of that. But usually, people are like, "Oh yeah, no, I know what that means." Okay, I'm glad you do because I have no idea where that came from. So let's see, right off the bat, there is a feeling of, let's see, the first few cards, Five of Swords, King of Swords. I got the Nine of Cups, Death card, Knight of Pentacles. But like what it really feels like, the first couple of cards is not so much, the first thing that came to mind was like under attack, but it's more of like defending yourself. Coming, how, let's see, not attack, but really just kind of showing up for yourself, like being
Yeah.
someone who can really feels like nose to nose with the world that does not understand you necessarily, and like really standing up and being you. That's
There's that. And what comes to mind with that too, Jen, with the especially at Five of Swords and that King of Swords, what came to mind is um it's again on these two very drastic niches put together. Like I have to be very focused. I have to be very
Mhm.
resound. I can't allow the judgments. Like I can't like we have a local organization that literally said they won't have anything to do with us because we're devil worshippers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're like a pretty big recovery organization here in the South
Yeah.
East Michigan area. And thank the gods that we are partnered with two recovery community organizations that truly believe in what we're doing
Sure.
because they have like had our back in this unbelievably
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is, people already have an issue with addicts, right? They already want to label every addict as like, what I forget what the saying goes, but like once a bad seed, always a bad seed. You
Right.
can't, you know, you can't really change type of things. And then you throw this un misunderstood
Yes.
practice, spiritual practice in the mix. And yeah, so that is a lot. And for me, staying focused, um, and not even because we were talking about the creative stuff, like not allowing all of the ideas that come up to even be the derailment,
Sure. Yeah,
right?
no, I think I'm learning that for myself in my own business because I used to say I'm a tarot card reader, I'm a medium. But the ultimate goal, the thing that binds all of those modalities together for me, because there's so many more that I've been trained in, is the idea of wanting to help people become the version of themselves that they have become out of touch with. So whatever that looks like. But that's the mission statement. That's the goal. And if I derail, like you said, like if I'm throwing a bunch of other stuff in, that's not going to work. Like that's just not how I
Yeah.
can I don't even want to say on brand, but that's just not going to present my services to the world in like the it feels like it's shortchanging myself,
Yeah.
you know? So I get that, like, having to stay on track and not not let all the other ideas come out.
Well, and not just that too, but, here's the truth. I stepped out of a corporate job 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. It was April of 2024. It was the end of my corporate, career, my, like, formal corporate career. And, there's a lot of people that would think that was absolutely bonkers for doing it. I left an incredibly flexible, like, they had me at 30 hours a week, which if I only put in 25, it wasn't an issue.
Right,
3 days a week, I was able to work 3 10-hour days, and I was making 6 figures doing it,
right,
right? And for 3 years, I did that and all of the other
sure,
stuff, right? And so there's a lot of people like, "Why would you have left? Why would you have, why would you have done all this?" And the reality is the distraction doesn't even just come from the creative ideas. The
right,
distraction also comes from the, "Oh shit, I'm not making 6 figures anymore.
right. Oh, for
Oh
sure.
shit, I have a nonprofit and I don't know that I'll make more than $15,000 this
Right,
year."
yeah,
Right? Like, going from a $130 to $140,000 a year job to a $15,000 a year
yeah,
job, right? There's a lot of, it's like, it's weird because when people think of the word imposter syndrome, they think of it as in like, "Oh, I can't be that good."
right,
Right? But this imposter syndrome is more so like, um, I'm not really like that, right? Like, yeah, so
yeah.
it's not a surprise that that 5 and that king showed up because it requires a lot of working through a lot of that. I use the Thoth deck, and that 5 of Swords, word associated with it is defeat.
Oh, yeah,
A lot of these, like, defeatist
yeah.
kind of mental, thoughts.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, like you said, they come from inside of us. They're not anyone else trying to put us down. It's our own. I mean, like, I have dealt with that so much over the last few months while building this app. And I'm like, I'm not a developer. I'm not. Like, that's just not what I've ever been trained in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go. And I've talked to a lot of people about that, but like they're like, no, you built an app, like you are. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, but I'm not. No, but I'm not, and so I totally get that. It is and I think for me a lot of like you were talking about like the early childhood kind of recovery stuff where I'm having to recognize I was 5 years old and someone told me I couldn't sing.
Mm.
Who tells a 5-year-old that? I love to sing. Am I good at it? I don't know, but because of that, I've held back and I won't
Yeah.
sing, So it's a lot of that type of stuff
Yeah.
too that I've taken on as my own belief systems now, and it is me battling me on a daily basis.
Yep.
So, yeah, I get that. But then I also feel like there's that 9 of cups and the death card is more of like this hidden subconscious, like real treasure that does need the whole death of one thing and the rebirth of something
Mm.
else to come forward.
Mm.
Like there's so many things that I think are lying inside of every single person that we need to have that old version of us just die. Gone.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes me think of a conversation I had with one of my clients this week. She won some time with me. And so it was the first time we've had she's had like 15-minute sessions she's paid for and 30 minutes. This is the full time we had a whole hour.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
pretty luxurious.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you want to talk about?" And she's like, "I want to talk about magic." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes." But
Yeah.
in this conversation, we got to talking about, she signed up for this like elemental magic course. And, so I was like, "Why? Like, why did you sign up?" She's like, "I really want to make the second half of my life,
Mm,
what I want it to be." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you want it to be?" Right? And so she listed off a couple of things. I said, "Okay, amazing. Those are great. I love this. I love
yeah.
this for you." Right? We went into detail on it. And I said, "Okay, what kind of magic have you already done
Yeah.
to bring this forward? And she's like, well, sometimes I do like a ritual or like sometimes I'll take like a cleansing bath. And I was like, no, 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 no. What kind of like magic have you done to manipulate the path of your future
Right.
towards what it is that you desire? And she's like, well, now that you said that, I don't really know that I have. And I said,
Right.
okay, well, this is what you need to do, right? Like you need to, she's got strong intuition. I said, I'm not going to tell you what that spell or what that work is. I
Right.
said, but that's what you need to do. And I said, you also need to understand that as you are asking for different things, the life that you know it today is going to change.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
going to change. And I said, I know for a fact you've already conducted this spell because 2 or 3 months ago, the last conversation her and I had was that she had a huge falling out with this group of girlfriends.
Yeah.
And I said, that is my proof that the magic that we're talking about has already been conducted because your life has already started to
Oh,
change.
for sure.
And so I think about this, like all of what I have done, all of this work, all of like this beautiful path that I'm leading towards. Big magic, and I've explained this to people. And I'm not talking about like I need a new car or like I got to pay my rent this month kind of magic. I'm talking about I want a life that feels beautiful,
Yeah.
wonderful, filled with ease. I want a life where I never have a worry cross my mind again. I want a life where my body feels regulated and I
Mhm.
don't un- I don't even remember the last time I had an anxious feeling or thought
Right.
like this kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
My first couple of years of recovery, I did so much intense magic and ritual every single month in order to change my life. So much so that to the point now, like, I don't do a lot of ritual for myself anymore
Right.
because I'm like, I am now feeling all of these things. So
It's like
the
a
amount of,
wave.
oh God, the
Like,
amount of like change
yeah.
and death and letting go and leaving it behind and, temper tantrums I've had to throw along the way, right? Like, no, I didn't say to let that go.
That's so accurate.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I posted something this week about that. Basically, the same concept of like 3 months ago, I was not the girl who got up on a Saturday and went to yoga or went to the gym on my own or turned down homemade cookies or whatever it was. And it's not so much that all of a sudden overnight I became this person. It's more so that all of a sudden I started believing that A, I was worth it, and B, that it was possible for me to do that. And I had to start showing up in those little baby steps in order to make that my new reality. And I think I always call it aligned action. That
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to sit there and manifest, and that's great. But there's still so much that we have to physically do, earth side,
Oh,
3D world in order to start getting it rolling?
right? Like I say this, the equation is intention plus action equals manifestation,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't exist otherwise. Like you can wish all you want, right? It's
Right.
like, "Oh my God, I really wish that I'm doing a spell. I'm going to get a new job. I'm getting a new job." Amazing. How many resumes have you sent out? Well, none.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm doing magic, I'm gonna get a promotion. I'm like, "Awesome, like, how are you showing up differently in your job?"
Exactly.
"Well, I just deserve it otherwise." I'm like, "Well, you haven't already gotten it, so obviously,
And, I
the."
think that was a huge misunderstanding on my behalf when I started to get into manifestation
Mm.
because there are so many people out there who do want to teach that like energetic shortcut. And all you have to do is imagine yourself in that position and feel it before you create it and blah, blah, blah. And that's part of the story. That's just not the whole recipe, like you said. There's that
It's the
intention
easy
part.
part.
Oh, of
That's the
course.
easy part.
I can daydream all day long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that is the easy part. I think about this and bless him so much. My partner, as I said, is an artist, and he wants to, really step into it from a professional perspective.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how many people have you talked to about your art?
Right.
How often do you promote yourself?
Right.
Like,
And
oh God.
yeah.
I'm like, we've done so much magic that it should just be like rolling for him.
Yeah.
But he's just got these internal blocks, right? These pieces of him that he is not quite ready to die
Oh,
off, right?
100%.
Yeah. So no, it's actions are such a critical, otherwise it wouldn't be called magic, it'd be called miracles.
Right. Which, sure, those exist.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not as common. People do magic with the hope of a miracle happening,
Yes,
and
they
that's
do.
just not the same thing. Like,
No,
it's a
no.
totally different. I don't even know you can make miracles happen. I think those are more of like a universal gift versus
Mm-hmm.
my own doing. But yeah, I'm working through those internal blocks right now. I spent, you know, months doing this app all behind the scenes, and then when it came time for me to tell the world about it, it went, oof, I don't know if I
Mm.
really want to do that, and immediately I could feel my energy about it just like
Constrict.
wrench up. And I'm getting to the point where I'm understanding that no one's going to support me and advertise me or my projects as much as I am, and no one's going to make me feel comfortable with that, except for myself. Like, I'm the one that has to get
Yeah.
through the icky feeling of, oh, what if I'm rejected? What if people don't like it? What if it doesn't work? What if, okay, like I've literally already experienced all of that and I'm still alive. And so, it's still not comfortable, and it's still very like, I still feel my energy like pulling back a little bit. It's just not as much.
Well, I'm being compelled to say this. I don't know that those are the things that you're worried about.
Hmm.
I think the things is what if it gets big?
Yeah.
What
Well,
if everyone likes it? What if this takes off?
yeah.
Because like you just said, you've already gone through those other
Yeah.
things. Right? You've been through. It's those other side. And this is what like we often, especially as women, I don't think we understand how many blockages that we have put into place subconsciously
Yeah.
in our energetic field that says we can't be big. And I don't mean in size because,
Right, right.
I
Yeah.
mean like we can't be larger than life.
Interesting.
Right? We
Interesting.
can't be, this crazy, incredible, successful person.
Right.
We can't, like, that to me is the one I don't think we do enough work on.
See, and what's funny is, like, I have a Leo North node, which is 100% like, hey, you need to step up into your light. Doesn't have to be the spotlight, but
Mm-hmm.
just step up into the light. And that is, I mean, it is difficult for me, very. And people look at me and they're like, you have a podcast, you do content creation, now you're building this app. Like, I love to public speak, all of these things. But I'm like, but I'm terrified doing it. And I will only do it until I'm like really uncomfortable. And then I kind of stop myself there. And so now I just did this whole, my my belly button birthday was yesterday,
Oh, happy
and so
birthday.
thank you. It's a difficult day for me. I'm getting better at celebrating it, but I think that's part of it. Like, I want to be celebrated, but don't give me the attention.
Yeah,
It's like
see?
this. It's just this push pull in my life. But I did a whole like 18-month ahead. What is my like astrological energy like this year?
Mhm.
And it literally is like, you can't play small anymore. You
Yeah.
can't. Like, it's not. It's just not meant to be. And
Mm-mm.
and I'm not terrified about it. I'm like, "Okay, cool, let's see where this goes." But, I'm doing that and my Chiron return all at the same time. And
Mm.
so I'm like, "Well, that checks out." Like, I could see how it all plays together, but it's gonna be, interesting just to kinda see how that does come to fruition. I'm excited about it because it is really like, just so it's frustrating having these ideas and still holding myself back, wanting to do and be and show others, and then still feeling terrified inside. It's frustrating.
Yeah. So in the Witch's 13 Steps to Recovery, step 12 is we celebrate ourselves in order to help other individuals,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so every witches recovery circle, we start with celebrations. And I'm always shocked. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have one every time, but I try. I mean, there's things like I will celebrate things like, oh my God, like I think maybe I did it this week. I don't think I did on Friday, but I should have maybe I did that. I'd folded 3 baskets of laundry.
you have no idea how much that resonates with me.
Right? Like, oh my God, I hadn't folded laundry in like a month and a half. I'm not gonna lie. And so, but that's the thing, like, I get this feeling, I keep, feeling like this celebration time that is like
Yeah.
something you're not comfortable with that
Right.
piece. And so success, until you face that,
Yeah.
success is always going to be limited for you.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Totally get
Always going to
that.
be limited.
Yeah. There's a whole passage by Marianne Williamson. It's like our greatest fear is how big we are, how great we are,
Mm,
and it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I read it and I'm like, I know that's what's holding me back. It goes on to explain, like, who am I to do all these things? And it says, who aren't you to do this stuff?
mm-hmm.
You are
Mm-hmm.
a child of God, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you are the
Yeah.
universe. And I remember that, and I tap into it occasionally, and then my humanness takes over and I pull back again. And so it's like this push-pull with really allowing myself to be fully expressed. I'm my journey.
I know you are hitting the gym. I would encourage you to check your playlist on whether or not the music you are listening to
Hmm.
has that positive. Because there's this song that's running through my head, and I don't know what the dang song is right now, but it's like, I'm 100% that bitch. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah,
it's not
Lizzo.
just it's not the Lizzo one.
Oh,
That
okay, I was
lyric is
like,
in
no, I love that
it's
song.
that's a good one, but there are other songs and there are other artists, like especially if you like some
Yeah,
of that. There's some like really phenomenal, magical, like badass women musicians that are
yeah,
putting out like really strong, positive affirmation music.
yeah. Oh, I know. I have a few playlists that focus on, and I don't wanna call it like the high vibe stuff, it's not, but it is like the more when I'm working out, my brain is zoned out. Yeah, what I'm putting into it is 100% going to affect my subconscious beliefs system about myself. I even had this wild and crazy idea. I love to play with AI, and I know that sounds, that's kinda controversial. People like to
I love it.
I
And I
I
will argue against it every day. Yeah.
I,
I mean against all the people that are running their mouths like they
right, and I
know what
think
the
it's
heck they're
a
talking. Yeah.
tool. It's
Yeah.
not meant to take over anything, but it's
Yeah.
a tool to utilize, and one of the ideas I love playing with Suno, which is the music app, and
Mm.
so I created the whole, like, body positive lyrics in ChatGPT, Claude something, threw it into Suno, and I said, I want this specific beats per minute. I want it to be upbeat. I want it. And so it literally is, I have like 3 or 4 songs that I worked on that are all about, like, your body is super strong. You are doing this thing, and you look at you go. And, like, basically just me talking to myself with gym friendly music to keep my, interest. And I totally forgot that I had that.
Yeah,
I
there
need
you
to
go.
add to that playlist because now I know, like, now I'm in my routine. I know how much time I spend on the bike. I know how much time I spend in the weights section. And I think I'm noticing also, like, as I move my body, a lot of that stuck stuff is getting released. And I've known that. Like, the next thing I think I need to get into for myself is somatic
Oh God.
therapy, healing, something. Like, my brain knows I need to do that, and I think I'm still very hesitant on that because it's gonna be
My
un
favorite the unbelievable, like, most spectacular mentor that I've had just released his first book, and it's called Food Therapy,
Ooh,
and he does somatic nutrition
okay.
because somatics is all about the body, and so,
Mhm.
yes, the movement is one of those things, but one of the ways that we actually, are, embodied is, like, through food,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, I've worked with him since, 2001, I think, was when I'd met him, and I've watched his journey grow as to, like, and I'm just so in awe of him, but the work has been some of the most impactful work for me in my own
That's
healing.
incredible. I am definitely gonna look into that because food for me is just another addiction,
Oh
and
gosh,
so
for so many of us.
I think, more than people are addicted to
Yep,
alcohol, like,
yep.
it's the most acceptable form of addiction, and
He
so
talks about it. He
yeah,
addresses it. Mhm,
I've been on that whole journey for the last couple of years, and I relapsed for a year, and I ate crap again, and then as
mhm.
soon as I take it back out and I feel incredible, it's like my body remembers what it's capable of, and I feel aligned, and I feel like I can conquer the world, and then I eat crap again, and I'm like, oh, it has such a wild effect on my mental health too."
He like I'm no joke. This is so he started school in psychology
Mhm.
and there were too many answers that could not be given in his coursework when he was first in like university
Yeah.
that he dropped out and picked up as a nutritionist. And so
Wow.
all of the work that he has done has been through this psychological kind of nutrition lens. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And like literally to the point of like I have a client that I've just met, they showed up at Circle earlier in the week. They're like just I think next week they're a month. So
Wow.
they've done hard drugs they've left behind, they've left the alcohol behind, but then they found they transferred it all to pot.
Yeah.
So they're like just about a month out of this addiction from, this pot. And so they've messaged me a couple of times this week and I like some of my first questions is what are you eating?
Yeah.
How are you eating?
Yeah.
Right? Because and so we realized yesterday they had a manic episode. They were like feeling really manic. I'm like, okay, well, what's your caffeine relationship,
Yeah.
right? They're like, well, I don't really drink it. Oh, I had chai yesterday. I said, well, there's your
Yeah.
mania.
And which
I
is
said,
pretty high in caffeine.
yeah, I said, "You are probably very caffeine sensitive."
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's incredible when you start to learn, and I mean, I adore this guy. I said he just published his book, and I reached out to, his team, and I said, "Hey, I'm inviting guests on my podcast any way that he'd be available?" And they're like,
Right.
"Not this year."
Aw.
But
Yeah.
he wants to next year, and so I've got a reminder to check in with him in the winter, but
Crazy. Okay, so
yeah.
what the name of the book and the
Food
author?
therapy,
Okay. And his
and
name?
his name is Luis Mujica. Mhm.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna look it up. I think it's just something that's so, I feel like more people are talking about it. I think it's something that really
Oh
needs to
god,
be
yeah. Yeah.
out in the world. Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Mhm.
really cool. I'm it's, I always joke, I'm like, "I don't have any vices left." You took out food, take out I all of the alcohol and everything else I was doing. I don't have money to shop. I'm like, I don't have all of these vices left. And people are like, "Well, what do you do when you're stressed out?" I'm like, "I don't know, work through it." You know?
Just be present in it. You know, it's interesting because people wanna like, stress is a normal piece of life,
It
right?
is, yeah.
Stress will create a diamond, right? You take and you compress enough
Yeah.
carbon, and it creates a diamond. Stress isn't the issue. It's the distress that is the issue. It is the
Right.
unregulated nervous system that is the issue,
Yeah.
right? Because the unregulated nervous system leads to cortisol, leads to adrenaline, leads to insulin spikes, leads
Yeah.
to like, yeah, all of this kind of like chaos in the actual like physical human body, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, what do I do when I'm stressed? Well, I'm stressed.
Right.
I,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not, like, avoidable. It's not,
Mm-mm.
and I find that most of the time, if I sit with it and look at, like, what is my fear around this stress? Like, what am I really afraid is gonna happen? And usually it's not anything that is actually gonna happen. It's like, I might let someone down at work, or I might,
Yep.
forget a friend's birthday or something, like, that could be stressed about that stuff, but also I'm human, and
Yep.
it's not gonna derail my whole life. I think also, like, I'm not doing illegal stuff anymore, so, like, the actual stress I used to have, is much smaller these days.
Well, I always go in, and I've done this for a long time, but the work with him really emphasized, this practice of mine. So anytime I feel stress, anytime I feel anxiety, anytime I feel something that doesn't register as a balanced and regulated nervous system, I
Yeah.
always ask, what was my sleep like?
Mhm.
What have I eaten? Have I had any type of caffeine?
Yeah.
Right? And I check in on those things, and I will tell you 80% of the times, it's one of those 3
Yeah.
things. 80% of the time. And then the other 20% of the times are those weirdo stories that we love to create, right?
Yep.
Because the little chaos gremlins, love to keep things exciting, right? And so if we're like working too much, right? Because I'm a
Yeah.
workaholic, I've not had enough excitement. And so the little chaos gremlins all like, well, we gotta do something crazy. Let's make her
Yeah.
stressed out about, X, Y, and Z. And that's the point where I'm like, this ain't worth it. This
Well,
ain't getting you anywhere. Like, so what if they get pissed off at you,
right.
right? Like, what did he do, right?
I
Yeah.
find for me, it's a lot of, like, creating stories in my head about my interpersonal relationships with people,
Oh God, yeah.
and a lot of times it's just completely unfounded. There was back in November, I was incredibly I was, like, talking to my therapist one day, I'm like, "I think my marriage is done. I think we're going separate directions." I had this whole, like, hour-long cry fest. And then I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, "Listen, work is not going well. My stepfather just died. I'm worried about my mom." Like this whole list of stuff. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm such a jerk." Like I created this story that you don't love me anymore. No, I'm not paying attention to what's going on in your world. Like,
Mhm.
how have I not put all of this together and realized you're just stressed out? And, me when I'm stressed out, I'll go cry to someone, I'll talk it out. That's what I do. I'm a Gemini. Like I process things verbally. He does not. He's like he'll detach, figure it out and then come back. And so once I came to terms with, hey, it's not me. I'm not, like I'm just the jerk in this situation. It was a little easier. And what's my part? How did I create this whole story? That's, what am I truly afraid of? What am I, and it just, not that we've been perfect ever since, but I have a lot more understanding for where he's at. And,
Yeah.
vice versa. If I say, hey, I feel like you're detached again. Okay. Well, he'll make more of an effort and, we'll meet in the middle. And so it's a little easier to avoid all of those like catastrophic self stories.
I think, and I kind of wrote a little bit about that this past week and everything. I think a lot of times, we step into recovery, we put the substances down, we work through the behaviors, and for some odd reason, I think we come up with this like recovery means we're superhuman now. Like we're
Yeah.
just, like nothing's ever going to get to us, nothing. And so we feel like this way, and therefore anybody else that's in recovery is same. So like there's this disconnect between, what you're describing with, your husband of like, well, he's in recovery, or he's,
Right.
doesn't do all of these things that once made all this chaos. So therefore he must be perfect,
Right.
and, it must be me.
Right.
And I can't figure out what it is that I need to change. So it just must be that we're not compatible.
Right.
Um, so yeah, and then I'm always like that happens. It's like, oh, there goes that addiction right there. Whoop,
Yeah.
there it is.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
someone told me early on in my recovery journey of like, replace the word alcohol with thinking. I have a
Mm.
thinking problem. I have, like I'm addicted to overthinking.
Oh
I
God, yeah.
am constantly trying to hurt my own feelings. Why? Like, and I know before I started to actually work on myself, I loved being the victim. Like, that was my favorite role to play. I just
Oh, yeah.
it was so easy. I was so good at it. And now, I think my threshold for feeling like betrayed in any way is so small now that any little thing I can misconstrue is all of a sudden I'm the victim again. And it's not even like as big as it used to be. People were cutting me out of their lives because I was crazy and I was an alcoholic. Now it's like my husband doesn't talk to me for an afternoon. I'm like, "What's wrong? What did I do?" You know? It just doesn't
Oh,
make sense
yeah.
logically, but in my head it's all this whole other world of
Well,
chaos.
we still need, and I'd imagine you're a little bit like this, and I would imagine some of your listeners are going to be like this, where you take a lot of pride in being independent. You take a lot of
Mm,
pride in being a strong woman. You take a lot of
right.
pride in being a smart woman. Right? And, the reality is we as human beings love, and especially I think as women, people that are embodying the divine, divine feminine love the softness and love being wooed and
Mhm,
taken care of. And I
mhm.
don't mean taken care of as in like I mean just taken care of as in like, what do you need, baby
Yeah,
doll? Like, you doing okay? Like I
right.
see you're down. Like we like being recognized, and so when it doesn't happen, yeah,
Mhm.
it's really easy to slip into these stories.
Yep.
See, I've never, and I'm like checking the spirit before I say this out loud. I don't have a lot of memories of being the victim because I was kind of parentified as a
Mm.
child.
Yeah,
So I solved a lot of problems. So
yeah,
I'm the type of person, like with my partner, he's same thing, I need to talk it out, right? Um, he has the tendency to, like, snowball it in. Like, we've had conversations, like, it just was not a skill he was ever taught to talk and
right.
communicate. And even though we've been together for 5 years and we've had this conversation multiple times, like, I get it. Like, I don't have a problem if you need to go reserve, but when 4, 5, 6 weeks pass
Right.
and you still haven't talked,
Right.
you still haven't brought it, now you're just masking,
Right.
right? And as somebody that is, strongly intuitive, empathic, to live in the presence of a mask, I'm
Yeah,
not even talking about I can see he's upset,
right.
right? Outside to the regular world, like, and even to me, like, there's no presenting as being upset, but I can feel the mask and
Yep,
it starts to be just so gnarly and so hard to
yep,
deal with. And that's where I'm like, I've tried everything to fix it, to be the
mm,
parent without being the codependent,
right.
like giving him the time, giving him the space. Yeah, this past week, I think it was last Monday, I finally broke down and I was like, maybe you're not the type of person that has the desire to be like this deeply
Right.
connected. Like maybe we just need to realize that.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, I mean, thankfully it opened the door, but I've been sitting on that one for like 6 weeks,
right.
like like it's an egg ready to hatch, just like, it's gonna come out any day. It'll be a lovely chicken and
It's so
oh
true
god,
too.
yeah.
Well, like,
Oh
I've
my.
I've spent so much time creating this story in my head of why things are not perfect, and then one little thing just makes me snap, and all of a sudden, it's, like, just this barrage of emotion that
Oh yeah.
is really unfounded. Yes, okay,
Oh,
I'm glad
totally
I'm not the
unfounded.
only one that does that, but also it's a pain, like, and again, it goes back to, like, "Oh, I should be healed enough to not act like that. I should be" no, I'm still just human.
You know what?
Oh
I
my god.
love that because I love this so much that you just said that because I had one of my dearest friends, she's part of the recovery coven, dropped a note this morning and she's out of town visiting family for, her niece's graduation, I think. And she said she exploded at one of her
Mm,
fathers and she felt horrible and all of this kind of stuff. And I said to her, I said, there's like, you're human, right? Like, if
Yeah.
somebody is violating your boundaries and you are trying to be safe and protected and they keep going, they give you no choice but to be loud and aggressive in it,
Right.
right? They really don't. And I said to her, I said, as I said, do you think he's still sitting there thinking about that situation and what he did wrong?
Right.
And and I was like, you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
You recognized you exploded. You apologized for it. You took time and went and just cried and allowed your body to regulate it. You were a bad ass right there. I said, give
Mhm.
yourself some grace because I think you responded spectacularly.
Yeah.
Spectacularly. Like, I've asked myself this a lot. I literally wrote to her, should I be this person? I wonder if I can find the actual comments. I said, I've thought about this. Am I supposed to learn how to be the person who can weather any storm and situation with passion and grace? Is that my goal in this journey? I
Huh.
said, I don't think so. My goal is to be a human. And if
Yeah.
someone brings out my defensive side because I'm trying to protect my peace, they should be glad as hell I'm in recovery because it would have been a hell of a lot worse if I wasn't.
I love that so much. And, it's so funny listening to your advice, your words of encouragement to her. It's so easy for me to do that to other people when they come to me for stuff. How often do I do that for myself? Never.
Mm,
Like, it very rarely it does happen, but it takes a lot for me to get there, and it's
yeah.
becoming easier, but I think it's so easy for us to remind other people of how amazing they are, and I am still so hard on myself. I would be the one beating myself up for exploding or having emotions, and really,
You know,
it's not needed.
it's a skill that is needs to be developed, and I'll tell you, this is something I learned in recovery. It would have been, I don't know, probably would have been maybe 6 months. Maybe not, maybe 6 months into I started to do this in my first year, like, within, like, I think I started in February, so it'd have been 5 months after I stepped into recovery. I started to do this very intense chakra study with myself.
Mm,
Which actually is going to be the content, like, I've wrote it all, is gonna be
yeah,
the content for my next book.
I love that.
Um, yeah, and so I started to do this very intense chakra study, and I started to recognize the emotions, like, fear sits within our root chakra,
Mhm.
right? And I believe shame and guilt sit within our sacral.
Mm,
And so I had this exercise that I would do. I was at that time, I was doing a sun salutation pretty much almost every single morning, but I added to that sun salutation a pigeon pose. And each kind of like pose I assigned to if you do some research, different yoga poses will assign to different
yeah,
chakras,
yeah,
right? And so I added this pigeon pose because pigeon pose, if you do it like kind of like on a mat, not in a chair or on your
mhm,
back, will open this hip extension. This
yeah,
like delicious, incredibly, oh my God, that hurts. I don't know if I can go any
yeah,
farther. And so I for almost a year and a half, I would get into this pose, and when I was on the right side, I would literally my ritual was it was to release all shame. So I would sit there and any feelings of shame that I would have would come up and they would be released and they would be let go, right? And it was in this moment, and I would imagine it like leaving and exhaling out of my body, and it would end up kind of like floating out, and it would turn in. I'd watch it turn all of these lovely, beautiful little hearts, and it would come all right back into me in this heart, right? Because the releasing of the shame and the guilt was an act of love.
yeah,
And so then I would switch to the left and I would release all the guilt and any of the past history that had shame or guilt or whatever it is would come up in this practice to the point that today, when you say like you're not really good at it, I believe that I spent so much time doing that ritual that now the moment I feel shame or guilt, my response to it is love. Love for myself.
yeah.
So,
I love that. Like, that's just beautiful, and that whole process that you explained is just
mm,
amazing. I love that so much.
I look forward to being able to write, and I've done it, I've taught about it in the past, but the reality is, oh my God. And by the way, if for some odd reason we get disconnected, there is this hellacious rainstorm that just
I
started.
thought I heard rain. That's
Oh my
crazy.
god,
I
it
can hear
is
it.
it's spooky right now, yeah. We've had a couple of these in the last, like, 2 weeks, and I get nervous for the whole garden outside because
Yeah.
yeah. Alright. Um, yeah, it's so spooky. Yeah,
That's
wow.
crazy.
Total distraction, but yeah, it's a beautiful practice, and it's a beautiful exercise, and I will tell you, if that is something, if this, like, inability to step into grace as as a direct response
Yeah.
to yourself is, like, not there, it can be taught, it can be
Yeah.
practiced. And I do, the way that I respond to her is the exact way that I would have responded to myself.
I do a lot of reparenting for myself.
Mhm.
And I do find that a lot of it becomes a little bit more natural these days. I mean, like, and I'm comparing to even just 5 years ago. I've been sober now 8 years, and the first three were still really tough. And then I started to do a lot of that, like reparenting and releasing of, and just really focusing on embodying the healing that I was already talking about. And I think it's one thing to like say I'm sober and not drink. And did your oh no, I was gonna say your power
No.
go out, but no, your light's still on behind you.
No, no, I'm checking to see if we're getting any, uh they'll send to make tornado warnings and stuff out. That's what we had the other day. I was in the middle of another recording. We had a tornado warning come out, and I was like, "I have got to let you go."
Yeah, that's I get that. We're getting close to the end right now anyways, but yeah, no, like when I first was sober, it was in name only for a while. Like I was still hanging
Mm,
on to a lot of the old stuff that I did not like, that was comfortable for me. That's what I knew. And so, yeah, in the last like 5 years or so, I've really just started to work on shifting my whole mindset around,
mm,
what does this healing really look like, and how do I actually live it and not
mm.
just say it. So, I get it. Well, yeah, in light of the rain and we're coming up on an hour, I want to thank you so much for coming. I'm going to pull a couple more cards. I have the Goddess Guidance Oracle deck, and I love to just see what goddess energy is around for the day. And then the Wild Offering deck, that one's just my favorite deck. It's so beautiful. So let's see. I'm getting hungry anyways. It's lunchtime for me.
I had
Ooh.
cereal right before we started, so
The card that I pulled for the goddess is Kali, endings and beginnings.
Mm,
And we had the whole death card, so that's all about endings and beginnings too. And I think we've kind of just it's come up a few times, and it says the old must be released so that the new can enter.
mm.
And I don't, not that I have a favorite goddess. I have a few, but there are some that I have seen work more in my life than others, and she is definitely one that has done some work on me. And then, yeah, the Wild Offering deck, I always forget how they word it. A deck on giving it all to God, or, universe, or whatever you want to call it. I was having a conversation with a friend last night. Like, God just doesn't quite embrace everything that I know the universe to be. Do I
Yeah.
believe in
Yep.
gods and goddesses? Yeah, but like, God feels like a very small human word for me. And I can't quite,
Mhm.
not one that I use often. Uh, I feel like this one is pretty appropriate too. You were talking about the shift to nonprofit. Money. All my finances are now in divine order. Love itself knows my needs and is the source for all. I needn't cling to gain or fear loss. Every need will be met through offering all to the divine.
Mm.
So I think, I mean, that's totally applicable to me too. I think a lot of people are feeling shifts in their own financial worlds right now.
It's, I think it's inevitable because you see the amount of inflation around us. But I would love to make sure that folks there's something that I learned in my journey. Again, I use the Thoth Tarot deck, and the Ten of Pentacles, the word that is
Mhm.
associated to it is wealth.
Mhm.
Okay. And so when I started to do every time I pick up a new deck, I do a deep study with it. That's why I don't buy a lot of tarot decks
Right.
because it's a commitment I made, and that takes months. It takes a months for me to
Yeah.
complete a big study. So when I started to do that study and you start to understand, more about what that deck means, or what that card means in that deck, wealth in and of itself, a lot of people automatically resort it to money,
Right.
right? They think about it from, you know, uh, pentacles in and of itself, coins, it's all the
Mhm.
material world. But the reality is what that card means is being in the 10th spot in that, series of the pentacles is saying you've reached the point in life that you really start to understand that all that you have around you is what equates to the wealth,
Mm.
the
Mm.
relationships,
Yeah.
the safety, the regulated nervous
Yeah.
system, right? The friends, the family, the boundaries,
Yeah.
right? This beautiful garden that I'm gonna hope is still standing out there.
Yeah.
And so you start to look around, and I do think not only are people starting to but they're starting to understand, like, to the most valuable commodity that we have in life is never the dollar bill that you have in your pocket.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
the time that you have on this earth.
Mm. Yeah.
So how are you spending your time?
I love that. Oh, it's such a good shift in perspective. I think it's great. One of the questions I ask or try to ask, if I remember, is what advice would you give 20-year-old you if you were to go back and see her now?
Oh, wow. God, 20-year-old me, what would I say to her? You know, I'd probably tell her to keep reading. Some of the things that I've learned throughout my journey that has provided the most value to me throughout my entire healing has been in what I've read, whether it's the books, whether it's, research articles, whatever it might be. And if I truly look back, right, because there's not a lot of things that I would ever want to change. I think the
Mhm.
hardships, I think the journey that I took, but if I could gift myself anything, that was 20 years old, it would probably be more knowledge, right?
Mm.
And the way that you find that is
Yeah.
is really through reading. You can do it through the connections, but at that time my ass was shitty at connections, so I would not give that advice, right? I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the hottest one. I'm gonna go to the one that feels good." Ugh, no, thank you. But I would tell myself to keep reading, read more, right? Like learn, like really learn more, and just keep absorbing whatever it is that I could, because I really think that was I think I may have understood a little bit more about my journey.
Mm.
Yeah, if I would have done
Yeah,
that.
that's
Mhm.
that's really, like, powerful stuff. Most people are like, "Oh, get out of that relationship. Oh," and sure, that's fine. But, like, like you said, my experiences have brought me to where I am today.
Mhm.
And, I think what you're describing is more of just that hunger for knowledge,
Yeah.
of expanding your mind, and I think that's equally just as important as the experiences I I went through, so I love it.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
It's always a joy talking to you, and I really do hope that our paths cross more. I wanna talk to you more about the covens and whatnot, so we'll have to get
Yeah, you absolutely know how to contact me, so
yeah.
please do reach out and,
How does everyone else contact you? Social media?
yeah.
What is your
The best thing that I tell people, you can do a search for Sober Witch Life and you'll find me everywhere.
That's awesome.
But you can visit www.soberwitch.life. That's the website. And you can find out everything kind of that's going on, whether it's the coven, the retreats, the podcast, the radio show, you name it. Um, and if you want to contact me directly, you can always, my name's here. You can find me on Facebook or drop me an email at sunshine@soberwitch.life, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Go check on your garden. and stay safe.
Maybe when it's done raining, but yes, I will.
All right. Well, have a great day.
Thanks, Jen. Take care.